Hello 3D designers. I have created an example of the cubic forms exercise, and I've added two different kind of approaches to the isometric block. One of them is all rhomboid shapes. The other one starts off with a rectangle and then is flanked by rhombuses, so that you have a choice of how you want to start this out. This process is a subtractive process. The object is to start with a complete block. As you're drawing, draw it lightly, and then you begin to remove. You selectively remove pieces of the block, and it's really challenging. You can, take a cubic approach and remove cubic pieces, or you could draw an ellipse on or a circle on and remove circular pieces as if you're drilling into the block. That's going to be up to you. That's going to be a choice that you make as you move along through this. Even I make mistakes on stuff, and when I do, I erase them and I start over again. And that's something that we have to expect when we're going in. It's okay to make a mistake, just don't keep it. Get rid of it. And in this example, I've got one block that's more slender, another one that's a little bit more massive, and the size that you pick when you do this is going to have a really big effect on what kind of choices you have and what you can take away and how much you can take away. One of the things that you'll notice, hopefully right off the bat, is that proximity becomes really important. If I take away a piece of the block, then the next piece I take away is going to be some kind of distance away from that. If they share the same space, your whole block will fall apart. So you do have to always think about, where these pieces are in space and where they're going. And once you do think about that, it opens up a lot of really great possibilities for you. The other thing is you've got to constantly remind yourself that if you're working with the rhombus, all the cuts you make on that plane are also going to be rhomboid-like. And if you're working with the rectangle, all the cuts that you make on the rectangle will also be rectangle shape. That can be confusing sometimes, so you need to go slow enough to pay attention to what you're doing so that you can remember that. The triangle you see is an interesting corner cut, where I've just slice it off. It's a little tougher than it looks, so go slow when you do the corner cuts. What else? Stair steps are always tough. They always take a little bit more time and a little more care. All right, I also added another object into this, and that is I added an additive block. And that is very similar to the clamshell boxes we're making, because with an additive block, you're always adding. You're not taking away from it, at least not when you're making it. You're always adding more blocks to it. And if you watch that one carefully, you'll see how that works. How the different rhomboid shapes kind of pop out and then they attach themselves. So that's a lot closer to the assemblages that we're making with the clamshell box. But I wanted you to see both the additive process and the subtractive process. I did take time to embellish this. I used color. I used a figure for scale so you'd get some idea of the size of the objects. And I added a little bit of drama by putting a big fissure in between, because the two blocks, or the rhomboid blocks and the rectangle blocks, even though they're both isometric, they don't really share the same plane. They can't because of the way they're drawn. So I had to make the plane that they're on crumble or cave in, and then they look like they belong there again. Looks like there was a disaster. So hopefully you get a lot out of this. It is my hope that you'll watch it a few times, not just once, and then you will be inspired to create your very own subtractive cubic form. So good luck with it. Take your time. You can always look at other people's stuff on the internet. I'm not the only person who draws things, so you might find something that's even more inspiring. So feel free to do it. Check it out. And in the meantime, do your best and make sure you get your work in on time. Be creative with your embellishment. That's something I'm going to keep bugging you guys about so that you don't skip the embellishment. And if you want to share your work with somebody else in class or somebody else that you know, it's always nice to get feedback and see what other people think of what you created and what you did. So I encourage you to let people see what you're doing so that you can get some positive feedback from them so that you'll want to do more stuff. And can we apply this to our clamshell box? Not quite yet. Okay, we haven't learned quite yet how to do subtractive work with the box. We know how to build it and we know how to assemble it, but we are not quite at the subtractive point yet, but we're really close. So stay tuned. That's on its way. Is there anything else I can mention that would be helpful at this time? If you want to, try both examples of the, both subtractive examples, one with the rectangle and the one that has no rectangles, you can try that. I will fit that into the assignment and give you the option to do both, or if you want to just focus on one large example, that's good too. Sometimes drawing small can be difficult, so I'll let you guys have a chance to do that in the assignment. So until then, happy drawing, do the best job you can, and I'll look forward to seeing what you guys create after you've witnessed the quake. Some kind of an earthquake, something happened. All right, folks, great.